For the past 4 years, Kenya has been proud to act as a co-convener at the Africa NDA Green Climate Finance Network, which was set up to help channel GCF funding to Africa. We want to repurpose this network of 43 African countries and transform it into a dynamic platform for peer learning and capacity building in the area of green and climate resilient finance, policy, making and regulation, and thereby greatly enhance Africa's ability to source climate-friendly capital from a broader range of potential funding sources, both international funds and from domestic institutional investors. Africa needs to speak to the widest possible range of investors, international but also domestic, and the African Green Finance Coalition will be a platform that allows it to do that, backed by a robust peer learning platform and a peer review mechanism that will bring Africa countries along this path together. A peer review mechanism will act as the accountability mechanism to ensure progress is sustained. This is about Africa taking control of its own development as an investment destination, building its capacity and attractiveness as an investment destination, and offering large-scale investment opportunities. It is about investment and not aid. Aid funding is never going to be enough. There are potential trillions of investment capital available with Africa Green Finance Coalition. Africa can compete very effectively for these funds. At the moment, fewer than a quarter of African countries have a climate financing strategy in place. That has to change if Africa is going to be able to capture this opportunity. Third is about acknowledging the opportunity to mainstream green into Africa's development narrative. Africa needs above all jobs and other economic opportunities. A green economic development pathway can deliver more and better quality growth. Fourth is about Africa responding to what will be the biggest shift in financial markets this century. As financial markets across the globe go green, Africa must adapt to these tectonic shifts. The supply side is changing forever. Lastly, is about Africa working together. There's no point in a small number of countries doing well on green finance if others are not. Climate change is not a problem that affects a small number of countries. This has to be a collaborative effort. I would now like to welcome Sini Nafo, a co-chair of Africa Green Finance Coalition, to the stage, who will speak to 3 ongoing areas of investment and the launch plan for the AGFC. Welcome.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary, for the introduction. Let me now present 3 substantive undertakings the Coalition is already supporting as concrete action to enhance implementation on the ground. First, with the Africa Finance Corporation, Africa Investment Grade Premier Infrastructure House launched an asset management fiduciary, which itself is already launching an infrastructure climate resilient fund, ICRF. With ICRF, the intention is to raise $2 billion in the next 3 years. ICRF will be the first tailored solution to integrate the impact of climate change in the design and construction of built-in infrastructure, while at the same time tracking low-carbon infrastructure initiatives. It will offer competitive returns to investors using a blended finance structure. With the Africa Adaptation Initiative and the adaptation of the African Agriculture Initiative, we have worked on a 23 countries program to support ambitious climate action on the ground. We will integrate climate risks in food systems. We will build a robust pipeline of projects to ensure that by COP27 in Africa next year, we have the first bottom-up multi-billion investment portfolio. The initiative will also provide an opportunity to enhance collaboration between countries and provide an opportunity for partnership in this field. Finally, in East Africa, in Tanzania, just a few weeks ago, with the Green Climate Fund, we were able to have the approval of a comprehensive $250 million framework as an adaptation framework with finance, technical assistance, and technology for small farmer holders. We hope to learn and to catalyze this fund to be able to extend to 23 countries starting next year. Africa is hosting COP27, and we will work to identify more action. We call on all partners and investors to come and work with us in mobilizing resources for a triple win for people, for climate, and for business. And with this, I have the pleasure to introduce Ayan Adam, who is the CEO of the Africa Finance Partners. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandy Nafel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies here at Glasgow in COP26. Thank you to the presidency for what I believe will be the start of a very great and impactful COP here in Glasgow that will lead to a successful Africa COP in Egypt next year in the great Egypt. My name, as has been noted, it's Ayan Adam. I am the CEO of Africa Finance Corporation's new asset management subsidiary called AFC Capital Partners. And AFC is a leading investment-grade infrastructure solutions provider that is charged with closing the last mile gap in powering Africa and also building critical infrastructure that is resilient to the impacts of climate change. In the next few minutes, I will highlight 3 points. I want to reinforce that we as Africans and as AFC, we welcome the Africa Green Finance Coalition, AGFC, and its importance. I also want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that we're facing in the African continent. And then finally end with how AGFC will support in accelerating solutions that are core to Africa to mobilize some of the key announcements that were made here today. As I said, it's an honor and a pleasure to welcome and to completely laud the launch of the Africa Green Finance Coalition. This is an important initiative in that it will support us working together to overcome the challenges that investors face in assessing a large pipeline of investable assets that are climate compatible in Africa. We as AFC welcome it. I believe others will too. For us, the Africa Green Finance Corporation is a new coalition that is charged with the mandate of supporting improvement in the legal and the regulatory frameworks that will support Africa to mobilize significant amount of resources. It is also going to build capacity so that we can bring impactful, climate-compatible projects to the market, and both African countries and African institutions, such as ours, AFC, have a chance of mobilizing significant capital, both from concessional resources, such as the Green Climate Fund, as well as from large institutional investors. This is critical because we at African institutions have the mandate and the chance to mobilize this capital to drive development, to create and mobilize finance that will drive significant development, create jobs, and contribute to meaningfully combat the impacts of climate change, both the causes, but as well as the impact. Allow me to touch upon a few realities that we face in Africa. As an African, East African woman living in West Africa, in Lagos, working on Pan-African mandate, we know firsthand and clearly the reality faced our precious continent due to the infrastructure deficit that is there. This really motivates me as an African to see these as both strong opportunities as well as have the energy to mitigate the challenges. In Africa, we face 2.3 billion worth of infrastructure gap. That is the current stock that doesn't even include future population growth. And we hope that the announcements that we've heard today here in Glasgow will translate into projects that new funding for clean energy and the pledges that were made for protecting the forests and restoring degraded lands will reach Africa by Egypt COP27. These are encouraging signs, and we are willing and ready to support our precious continent, that which has contributed the least, but is overtaking a large burden due to the impacts of climate change. Africa presents a great opportunity, and there are many global and local investment-grade institutions on the ground that, like ourselves, Africa Finance Corporation, that are able to de-risk and structure very strong PPAs, that we have the track record that has offered investors competitive investment returns. Some will require blended finance, others are ready for investment today. Yes, there are significant challenges and risks, both real and many perceived, in investing in Africa. Yet Africa has the second lowest default rates in the project finance arena, just next to the Middle East. That means that the risk perceptions, some of it is perceived because we do have stronger PPAs where governments are backing them so that investors have the right investment return profile. I want to end and emphasize that as an African professional on the ground, I want to loudly welcome the creation of the Africa Green Finance Coalition, as was noted by Ambassador Seni and Cabinet Secretary Mr. Yatani. For us at AFC, this partnership is already supporting us in a recently launched Pan-Africa-wide AFC Capital Infrastructure Climate Resilient Fund, which is aimed at removing barriers in mainstreaming climate resilient investments while helping us crowd out large institutional investors. I want to thank the presidency and also thank all the people behind that have organized this intervention. Thank you very much.